Hey folks, welcome back to Good Enough Customs. So today we're actually going to get cranking on Jeremy's truck again. I believe today we're actually going to be putting stuff together. we have a little bit of tear down left ahead of us. But we're actually to a point now where we can actually start putting some things back together and get the truck prepped to get back on the road. So follow along. Hope you enjoy, and we'll catch up with you here in a little while. All right, so we got Caden up underneath here, fixing to crack the seal on this third member. And see what kind of wonderful surprises are in store for us there. Wow, that's disgusting.
That's trash.
That oil is
gooey.
Look.
Alright, she's spreading easier now.
Oh,
wow. That's Riverfall.
Oh,
that's high quality stuff right there.
Dude, that smells so bad.
Straight from the 60s, I think. It's all them dinosaur guts.
Oh, it sounds so bad inside.
Oh, the noise.
Yeah.
Yeah, it stuff's like bubblegum, man.
Dude, that's...
I mean...
Oh, you look...
What is this, like solid Lucas?
Maybe.
I mean, my God.
It's like string cheese.
All right, then we all get to get high on brake cleaned under here.
Best thing ever.
Might make it smell better.
Yo. Sorry, come on. I'm finding out if we got any cuts on our hands.
Yeah.
Apparently I have one on my finger.
Good.
84 gallons. Carburetor cleaner.
It's like tar, man.
Well, look at it. Hit it in the pan. It doesn't even get
Oh no, it's not even rippling in the pan. It's bouncing off. It's like gelatin. Yeah, it's legit just bouncing off. There's no disruption to the oil in the pan.
Nope. It's... it's like water and oil mixing.
Almost. That is unreal. That's some nasty shit. Well, got that third member out now. Time to try and get all this wonderful mess out. Oh. That's like chocolate syrup, dude. That is bad.
Yes, I got it to sit still. Without tipping. Right there's where you're gonna sit, because I don't think that's anymore. I want to see it.
Whew, that is nasty. cleared out pretty well. It's not super sparkly, so that's good. Now time to clear all the junk out of the axle tubes, and we'll get back at that here in just a few. Alright, we've got some really nasty axle tubes. There's a bunch of crap set in from all this thick stuff. So I got a bunch of crap just sitting down here at the bottom. It's full of little bits of rust and some little bit of metal, and that's just no good. All that's going to do is create more problems down the road. So, question is, how do you clean the inside of these tubes if you ain't got the tools to do so? Answer is you make a tool. Here at Good Enough Customs, we are all about making simple tools for jobs that need to be done. So what I've done is I've taken, pretty simple, took a, I got a couple of extensions put together. I got a 1 1/4 inch socket. I think it's a 1 1/4 inch socket stuck on there. Just an old rag that I don't care much about, zip tied on the end of it. And I'm gonna dunk it over here in some diesel fuel that I have, and run it in there and just scrub a dub. Try to get this thing cleaned up a little bit so these new bearings will have a little bit of life to them. And this way, I can get all that crap out of there that's built up. And I'll probably have to do this a couple times per side, just to make sure it's good and clean. But it's a pretty simple way to scrub the inside of these tubes, especially with all that crap that's in there. I'm sure you'll see that here in just a minute once I get done with this scrubbing here. It's like brushing freaking teeth on a whale. Get back here in them molars. Oh, it stinks so bad. It stinks. All right. So as you can see, that's a lot of nasty right there, and some sparkles. And we know sparkles are not a good thing, especially when it comes to inside of an axle. So I'm gonna reset and do this again. May have to do this a couple more times. Well, it is almost Halloween. Woo! Very nice. All right, we're gonna call that side done. I'm gonna go do the other side, and we'll catch back up in a bit. Now, time to put in the old axle seals. So, get a little bit of grease and just smear that on in there. Nothing worse than a dry hole. And then for good measure, go ahead and just hit the seal as well. Get her all slicked up. We got the slickum on there. So now, take and just set her on in. Not like that. Get it in there where it just kind of hangs. And then find something, you want to find something about that diameter to knock it on in with. I don't have any tools like that, but what I do have is this old inner bearing off of a Dana 44. It's seen some action. I actually use the same for a lot, especially on the press. It just works. It's just a little piece of aluminum. And go ahead and get her tapped on in. All right, she's knocked in. All nice and pretty, ready to go. Anyways, so what we got left to do is put the bearings on the axles, get those pressed on, and then get the backing plate on, slide the axles on in, and then we get the new brake hardware on, and we got some fresh drums for it. So we're about there. We'll catch up with you over at the press to put the bearings on. All right, finally to a point of getting these axles put back together and ready to press on the bearings. So what you want to do, I've already taken these and polished them up, cleaned them up, got all the gunk and ground off of them. So just want to take and smear a little axle grease back on them. Some folks will use gear oil. I just had the axle grease already out, so it works just the same. Get a little smear up. All right. I'll take our retainers, slide them down, go get them in position, and then get your bearing and smear a little bit inside it as well. Get her set down there, and then get your retainer. Smear that thing up as about the same. Just get her good and lubed up. Now they're ready for the press. And if you don't have a press, a lot of mechanic shops have them. Don't know what they would charge for that. But a lot of mechanic shops have it. I would expect it to be too expensive for them to just pop these bearings on. But that's if you don't have a press. But we'll move these over to the press and be back in just a second. Time to slide them down in here. Get that one on there. Get that one on there. I'll just press her on in. And she's on. All right, now I'll do the other one, and we'll get to putting this thing all back together. All right, we're gonna slap this thing back together. We've got actually found out that we're missing a few brake parts, so we gotta wait again for more parts. I think we'll get them back Thursday, I think was when they were talking, or Tuesday. So anyhow, so I took the backing plates both sides, cleaned them up, shot them with some paint. They're not perfect, but they're good enough. And get the old backing plate on here. And now, with the axle, I've got the new bearing all pressed on. Everything's nice and pretty. I want to be careful not to drag this thing over that axle seal. Find the differential in there. And wobble her around till you get her ready to go home. Trying to keep these stupid studs from working loose. All right. All right, now got the axle all bolted down. Everything's in place. We got some new wheel cylinders. I'll go ahead and drop this new wheel cylinder in. All right, wheel cylinders in, and I still got to get this stupid barking brake cable in. Let's see. There we go. All right, and that's pretty much all I can do until we get some of the other brake hardware in. We're missing some of the little pieces and parts, so I believe we should have that Tuesday. So whenever Tuesday comes around, we'll get those thrown in there and get these brakes thrown back together, and I'll film all that. But we've got fresh axle bearings, axle seals. We pulled third member out, cleaned out the diff. It had some really nasty oil in it. I don't even know if you could call it oil. It was like toothpaste. So went ahead, got that all cleaned out and changed. Next thing to do is fill the diff with some fresh gear oil and finish putting these brakes together, and you'll have all cleaned up, all freshened up back here in the rear. New brakes, everything be ready to go back here, and we can just focus on the front. So till tomorrow, we'll holler at y'all later. All right, here we go. We've gotten a few things done since the other day. Ended up having to just take a short day just to rest up. I was pretty beat up working on this rear end and getting all this other stuff done, and plus all the other little things we've been doing. So what I've been doing here lately is working on the exhaust. So this truck had it's got exhaust manifolds on it, just standard old manifolds. Go down into 2-inch pipe, and then it necked down to 1 3/4 inch pipe for a 460, which is pretty terrible. So we looked at getting a set of headers. Nobody had them in stock. And again, of course, we're budget building this thing, so nobody had them in stock at a price we were willing to pay for them. So what we've done is figure next best thing. Eventually, Jeremy may want to put headers on this thing, liven it up a little bit, make a little more sound. So we could just dump 2-inch all the way back. It'd probably be all right since it's just the bone stock 460. But we figure, hey, why not go ahead and do 3-inch? So don't make fun of our terrible layout here. So going from 2-inch to 3-inch, so we got 2 to 2.5-inch coupler, and then a 2.5-inch coupler to a 3-inch coupler. Then we bought some 4-foot sticks of 3-inch from Jegs. We bought that just to throw it on here. So I've already got these guys welded up. That one's a little ugly, don't mind that. So I'm gonna go ahead and weld these guys up and get them ready to go. We've got a set of mufflers we're gonna throw on it. They're the chambered mufflers. I believe they're the Jegs version as well. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get this all welded up because we know we're gonna use a 4-foot stick. We may end up having to shave a little bit off here on the back end to get the muffler where we want it to seat. But what I did is I basically used the transmission cross member as my reference point underneath the truck. So both of these existing pipes were cut off with the even with the cross member, and then actually I took another 6 inches off behind that to make up for these. Don't mind my phone going off there, but I cut another 6 inches off to make up for all the coupler crap we had to put in. But this will work just fine for what he's got. Eventually I'm sure he's going to want to go headers, and then whenever he gets ready for that, all he's got to do is cut it here, put a flange, weld a flange on, slide it up, or add in, he can make that work, and more than likely we'll be the ones doing work for him. Anyways, I'm going to get this guy, get him tacked up so I can drop that magnet off, and then I'll go ahead and just lay a bead down here. And then they were actually out of the 3-inch couplers, so I ended up having to get one that was a 3-inch inside diameter, one that's a 3-inch outside diameter. So so this one I'll be butt welding that one up. This one will actually slide in, and I'll just weld it right around here just to keep it in place. So I'll set the camera back up and film that because I know how much people love watching welding. So I'll be back in just a minute. Now, I don't claim to be a welder, but I can run a welder. I know it ain't the prettiest thing in the world, but hey, it's good enough, ain't it? Get a hold. So, anyhow, I got one more to stitch up. I'll do that one here shortly. We got the exhaust all mocked up and ready. I tacked it in place. I'm gonna zip this thing together, slap it back on the truck. let's see, we finally got all the brake parts in, so now we can start putting together these rear brakes. So I'm going to get this side put together and y'all can follow along. All right, so you can see what all we're dealing with here. Some new parts, some old parts. New shoes, new cable, new springs, some new hardware, and we're reusing some of the hardware just because this is what the kits came with. So having to reuse these little guys. Honestly, I don't know what they're called. I just know where they go. So they slide right in here. You'll want to take and dip them in a little bit of grease so you don't catch the that boot. Slap a little grease. Get in there. All right. So we got that guy in. Now, let's see. I like to start on the back brake shoe because this one, you got to mount up the lever for the e-brake, and that guy mounts up here. So gotta get a washer and the clip. And I always bend the clip just a little bit. You don't bend it too much. If you bend it too much, it's a nightmare to get back off. Unfortunately for me, the previous folks that did the brakes on this bent the absolute crap out of them, and those things did not want to come off. All right, so now we gotta get the e-brake cable mounted back up. It's one of the most frustrating things in the world to do, especially if you have to do it twice because you mounted it on backwards. That's never happened to me, I swear. All right. I hate e-brakes. It's a pain in the butt. So now, sliding a little keeper back through. Let's go ahead and get this stuff getting lined up here. All right. Now, slide this dude on. Okay. Okay, get on. You can just let that guy hang. That ain't gonna hurt nothing. Got a little cable retainer, guide, whatever you want to call it. And we got the spring. They have tools for this. I've got a tool for this, but I find it easier just to use a pair of needle nose or a flathead, depending on how the brakes are wanting to work with you. Let's go ahead and get this other side going. And again, they have a tool specifically for this. But I've always done it with pliers. It always seems to work out okay. All right, let's see. This guy, go ahead and pull him back through. Come on. Get him draped back over this here way. And then this, put this bar in. All right, so that spring's gonna fight me, but that's okay. I got another spring for it here in just a second. I think it was the red one goes up here. And again, they make the tool for this, but pliers typically work okay for me. Typically. Sent that guy on home.
The freaking speed control malfunction.
Oh, there we go.
And on launch, it gets 60 psi boost. When you launch, he got to like the top of first.
There. All right. Now I'm getting somewhere. All right. So now we got the brakes all hooked up. Set the rotor on there. Yep, we're too tight. There we go. A little bit of drag, probably a little too much drag, but I've got that adjuster adjusted all the way back, so that's what we're going to go with. Just drum brakes for your pleasure. since I've done everything on the rear end that I need to do, we've got all this just nasty where the brake fluid's leaking out and all that. So we're going to go ahead and cut all these brake lines out and get, actually, I don't even have to cut those out and just unbolt it. We're gonna get the brake lines out of the way. We're gonna scrape this guy clean and give it a quick scuff and little Craigslist rebuild by just giving it a shot of spray paint just to freshen it up, make it look a little nicer. Good Lord, that stuff's rusty as all get out. Okay. Oh, that goes right directly into the axle. So, wow, that one was broke. Yeah, definitely a good thing we decided to replace all these brake lines. Since this one, just as soon as I moved it, it just broke open here on the bottom. I don't know, that's pretty doggone rusty. I don't know if y'all can see that or not, but got a new soft line. That should be, we should be picking that one up today. We forgot to order it. And I'll go ahead and cut. Maybe go ahead and cut this guy up here. There. So that's out of the way. I've got a piece of, yeah, well, yeah, that whole end just broke right off. So since this guy is so just wonderfully nasty, I'll go ahead and run this on down a little bit. Good old scraper. So I've got most of the big crap knocked off of here with the scraper. So now I'm gonna hit it with a little brake clean. Just get some of this grease and grime. And there's a little bit more I need to get. But basically what the process is scrape off the big chunks and gunk and crap. Then clean it up a little bit. And then hit it with a little brake clean. Knock the oil residue and everything off. Give it a quick little scuff. And once we give her a little scuff, then it'll be time to throw some paint on this guy. So we're about there. We finished cleaning this little gunk up. And since it's a rear end and it's under the truck, and this ain't a show truck by any stretch, it ain't got to be perfect. It's just got to be good enough. Now my vent tube for this, it is it's pretty clogged, so I've got it actually sitting and soaking in some diesel, trying to break up some of the gunk out of it. And I'll get that put back in before we finish all this up. Give it the old fill test. It don't feel super grimy. Now one thing you may want to keep in mind is since we are under the vehicle and there is grime and grit and grease and all sorts of stuff, if you're going to use a Scotch-Brite, which that's what I'm going to use, I got this red Scotch-Brite. It's been used before. You can see a little bit of grease on it. Basically, I keep them separated. For one, I'm actually doing any type of, body or accessory pieces. I'll leave this one into a different section. So I'll use a nice clean one for doing something that people actually see. Otherwise, I have a junky one for underneath the trucks and all that stuff. And we're not looking to feather these things out and make it super nice. It's just trying to make it look better than it does. Now, just to make sure that this doesn't get stuff in it, I just got an old bolt. Just sticking her down in there. Just keep it covered. I like to use this Color engine animal. This is the semi-gloss. It puts a nice even coat on everything, and it blends really nice whenever you have to come back and hit some other spots a second time. Like I'm only going to paint the back half of this axle. When I go to do the front half, it'll do nice to blend in. Go ahead and do that since we got new shocks on there. Keep that shock from getting shot. But just give a little haze job. Yeah, that's the problem a lot of people have when they're spray painting is they put it on expecting it to go right on first shot and get it on there super thick. First coat should just be something light so the paint can start setting up, and then you can come back and hit it with a good heavier coat, and then it'll then that's when it really starts covering. So we'll let that flash for just a second. And now we can start laying it on a little thicker. So then we'll just let that sit and dry and get out from underneath here with all this fumes. And I'll go back and hit the other side here in just a little bit. I won't worry about recording that one because it's just more paint. But you get the general idea. All right, folks, that's going to do it for this week. We covered a lot. We did all sorts of stuff to this truck. So I think the rear end's ready to go. Minus brake lines. We'll get those set up in one of the future episodes. I'm not sure which. But next week, come back. We're going to have the front disc brakes that we're going to put in there. I believe it's from Master Power Brakes, but we'll cover that in depth on the episode and show the installation behind that. We might even get into a little bit of cosmetic stuff and just keep getting this truck on its journey. So if you could give us a like and hit that subscribe button, that'd help us out quite a bit. So do appreciate it. We'll see you next week. Just remember, it ain't got to be perfect, just good enough. Y'all have a good one.